Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Thomasin PA2066. Today is 4th of August 2022. I would like to do a topic on CKHT forms. In fact, these CKHT forms actually came about from preparing of the RPGT video which I have done earlier, RPGT recent changes. And also it was mentioned also as in CKHT3 form in the vendor video which I recorded last year. And recent time also I have done one which is RPC shares. So this video on RPC shares also involve the use of CKHT forms. So this CKHT forms video recording, I hope to fulfill some of the questions that you have in mind, which form to use. Let me begin. Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Thomasin PA2066. Today is 4th of August 2022. CKHT forms. CKHT stands for Cukai Harta Tanah. So this is an extension of the Fine Hui series property investing and selling issues because it involves, as I mentioned, the part that as a purchaser, you are supposed to file in. As a seller of a property, as a vendor, you file in for exemption under CKHT3, and therefore this form is important for those who choose not to give it to the lawyer to do it for you and you want to complete the forms yourself. Of course, your lawyer, purchasing side or the vendor side can do this filing in for you as well. Anyway, let us begin. What are the CKHT forms? So I derived my slides and some of this material from the LHDN page, the hasil.gov.my page, with the specific sub-directory area involving procedure for submission of real property gains form. So this real property gains text form is to be downloaded. You can download the forms, and I will show you later in the subsequent slides. This is a resource area for most of the updates on the current law and forms to use for all the kinds of tax-related matters. So this is the left-hand side, and you can see all the different guidelines, real property gain tax rates, disposal debt and acquisition debt, how do you determine, disposal price and acquisition price, how do you determine, determination of chargeable gain and allowable losses, what are the exemptions, disposal price equal to acquisition price in what scenario, and transfer of asset inherited from deceased estate, like say a person who is passed on and the inheritance, how to handle this type of situation. I have done a lot of scenario in the previous video on some of these kinds of transaction or transfer, which involve different paragraph in Schedule 2. So it can be Para 19 of the Schedule 2, or it can be give Para 12 of the Schedule 2. And you also talk about the different penalties and the tax. What are the procedure to file in? So today we are looking at just the forms, the CKHT 1A, CKHT 1B and 3, as well as for the person who acquire CKHT 2A. So you can see here, CKHT 1A and 1B, these are for disposer, the person who disposes. So here, 1 is for disposer, 2 is for person who acquire. Then we also talk about how to use the CKHT3 for different types of exemption. Subsequent to this is the RPC share, which I have done a video. So you can go and refer to this RPC share video. And also the types of way of manual file or e-filing. Anyway, on the website of Selangor Bar, I also extract this screenshot. CKHT 1A, 1B, 2A, 3, 501, 502. So CKHT 501 is a payment form for a disposer, person who dispose, and CKHT 502 is for person who acquire. And this also means the section 8, the election to exempt for once in a lifetime private residential home. I have this table which I sort of sorted out the differences of the forms, and also for the part whose duty to pay RPGT because the person who dispose of the property makes up gains, since gain is subject to RPGT So as I mentioned, 1A, 1B is for the disposing person, the person who disposes of the real property. Similar also for person who dispose of a share. So RPGT is involving in RPC share. So the RPC shares is under CKHT 1B, Form 1B. For the person who acquire, then both shares and the real property, the real property as in land or landed property or strata property with shares together, they are under CKHT 2A. So CKHT 3 is for asking for pengecualian or exemption. So this exemption to be completed and later on give it to the purchasing side. The purchasing side therefore do not need to retain a sum of money in the normal scenario of sales and purchase of a real property is retention of 3%. Also for company and for foreigner, the percentage rate are different, 5% and 7%. So we continue. This part of the video recording, I have made a new due to the old one, which is cracking in sound. The audio was bad, so I replaced with the new recording. So let us go into CKHT 1A. CKHT 1A 2022, this one you can see, it is for disposer, a person who dispose of the real property, in this case land and physical real property. CKHT 1B, in fact, similar for disposer, but for disposer of share in a RPC company. RPC share RPC stands for real property company real property company share. And we have the CKHT 2A, which is for the acquirer, people who acquire the real estate or share or RPC share. So here you can see for tanah atau share. Therefore, the CKHT 1 is for the disposer, CKHT 2 is for the acquirer, the person who acquire. Of course, the acquirer here for land, physical real estate, as well as share is all grouped under CKHT 2A. Now, more important one is the CKHT 3. So let us go into CKHT 3 2022, where you zoom into the bahagian B, category pengecualian. So this is for exemption, different types of exemption under CKHT 3. And we all understand that CKHT 3 is the form to use to ask for exemption. Here the exemption is B1A, B1B, B1C, detail on each and every of these different category Now here it says that pelupusan tidak dikenakan cukai so it's actually a disposal that can get exemption. So the first one, 1A is about section 8 or pengecualian cukai untuk pelupusan kediaman persendirian. So this is section 8 referring to election for an exemption in a lifetime, once in a lifetime, a private residential home. And this is election CKHT 3 to tell your submission that if let's say you dispose of a few properties, you can choose to elect on a particular one. Usually we elect to exempt for the most heavily RPGT tax rate Of course, for the one that is most valuable, usually has the highest gain. Then you choose in a lifetime a residential unit of that disposal. Of course, if it is land or agriculture, commercial or industrial types, then it doesn't qualify lah. It doesn't qualify for this election. Let us move to B1B, which is pelupusan aset mengakibatkan kerugian kerana harga pelupusan adalah kurang. So this part is if you have make a loss, RPGT loss, you also need to declare it in the CKHT3 form. I'm talking about a real estate agent who is handling tax purposes. If you are a tax consultant or tax agent, then you need to know more in other category of income, like you have business income. How do you actually do the treatment for allowable losses between different businesses? That is under company taxation. So let us move on to B1C, pelupusan aset yang tidak dikenakan cukai menurut Perengan 17 Jadual 2. And in a case here, I will show later but it is in short, the transfer of property for amalgamation or for better efficiency between companies, where you do not need to pay tax, so it's no gain, no loss. So therefore, you need to declare here there is no RPGT involved by CKHT3 submission. B1D, which is pelupusan aset yang dikecualikan cukai di bawah Perintah Cukai Keuntungan Harta Tanah Pengecualian. So this is about the gazette. If there is yearly gazette by budget year end, and you have an exemption order which is passed by the parliament. That means where budget is out and there is an exemption order. For example, during the last few years, 2019, 2020, 21, the COVID impact onto the scenario of real estate, there was an exemption order given for real estate in exemption for 3 units of private residential home which is being sold during this period. There is a exemption. So this is a exemption order. So that part you need to highlight if you submit for that reason, then you have to extract the particular gazette, a particular warta to be referred to as a exemption order. Pelupusan aset 1E yang tidak dikenakan cukai dikecualikan cukai menurut. Sometimes there is exemption due to special allowances, special reasons. Case that no need to pay for the RPGT. So in such a situation, you have to refer to that particular allowance or exemption that is given in a special perintah. So this one is different from the warta. It's not a warta. And here I put an arrow yellow color about the pelupusan selain daripada tertakluk pada 5% or 7%. This is those who are supposed to retain. So if you are supposed to retain 3% for normal transaction of sub-sale, usually residential house, 5% if syarikat, and then 7% if it is bukan warga negara so warga negara asing. So this is the summary of CKHT3 which I would attract your attention to. It's a good exercise to go through the different details in the bahagian B. So if you are able to get a piece of CKHT3 form, go through them. Let us move on. Transfer between companies. We mentioned just now 17. Para 17 of the Schedule 2 says that asset transfer between companies, greater efficiency for so-called share transfer within the company that holds shares or the transfer of their property from company A to company B within the same group. So this one is no need to pay RPGT or for the purpose number 2, B, an asset is transferred for any consideration between companies in any scheme of reorganization, reconstruction or amalgamation. This one just to highlight is Para 17 Schedule 2. The other one is Para 3, Sub-Para 1B, which is about transfer of individual having a property transfer to his own company. So that one is Para 3, Sub-Para 1B. That one also no gain, no loss. So here also no gain, no loss. Then we have the election, section 8, schedule 3 of the RPGT for once in a lifetime now. Bahawa saya never enjoyed it before, and as a kediaman. And we have payment form also for CKHT 501. This one, if you need to make payment of RPGT, you are using this form to make payment. For a person who Pelupuza dispose, if you dispose and you have gain of RPGT, you make payment, you use CKHT 501. And if it's a 502, there is another form which is for the person who acquire. Now, this question of why an acquire person need to make payment, so it's an interesting area. It's like, I do not make gain, why should I do payment? So here it says that section 21B of the RPGT Act. So let us look at section 21B. So purchasers lawyer need to be aware of section 21 and section 21B. If you read, duty of acquirer to retain and pay parts of the consideration. So here means that if you are the person who purchased a property and that property is taxable under RPGT, then you have the duty under section 21B to retain a 3% of the total value of the consideration, whichever is less, to be paid within 60 days to the Director General. So this one is the reason why you have the form just now, the form for a person who acquire property need to make payment for the reason of section 21B. Right, section 21B again. So I'd like to do a conclusion on the presentation today on CKHT form. So this Sukai Harta Tanah form that you use to declare and submit the transaction, which is attracting RPGT. So CKHT form and payment we went through the website also where you can download the forms. So I have shown you some of the form downloaded for 2022. Section 8, which is schedule 3 of the RPGT, talking about, well, once in a lifetime election for an exemption of private residence. So if you have a private residence or house that you dispose of, you can elect for that house to be exempted from RPGT once in a lifetime. And you have the section 9, which is schedule 4, where individual citizen of Malaysia, upon disposing any property that attracts RPGT, you're allowed to do a calculation of 10% or 10,000, whichever is greater, to get a deduction, to enjoy a deduction from the chargeable amount. So that is section 9 or schedule 4 of the RPGT Act. Then I went through also the CKHT 1A, 1B. 1A is for land or real property. 1B is for share by the disposer, person who disposed of the property. And CKHT 2 is for the person who acquire. And 2A is the form to use for both landed or real estate or RPC shares or shares in the RPC company. I've done another video on RPC shares. You can go and visit that video. Then CKHT3 is the one that used for writing in or submitting into RPGT exemption, pengecualian cukai harta tanah. So we have gone through the bahagian B, B1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, and 1E. So the different bahagian, sub-bahagian on the types of exemption or submission to get an election or submission to get an exemption. And for the payment, we have CKHT 501 for acquiran for the person who disposed of the property, and 502 is the bayaran payment for the person who acquire. So the reason why a person who acquire a real estate need to submit for this payment is that section 21B of the RPGT Act says that the person who acquire need to retain 3%, normally 3% for a transaction, or whichever is lower, 3% for the purpose of paying on behalf of the seller to RPGT under this section 21B. Right, thank you very much. I am Thomas Sim, PA 2066. This is my mobile number. have a few websites. I like to just briefly explain. Findway.info is a geo-linking advertising of your listings. Contract2you.com is a website that gives ranking for property under comparative index. My Real Property Online is a website that I organize for my videos, my listing, as well as my write-ups. And Baker's Real Estate.fund is a sample website for directory type of listing. And estateagentexam.com is a online self-study platform for the diploma in estate agency examination by the board. Thank you very much. Do visit the RPC share video if you are interested to know about how shares in company which is holding on to real property is to be treated by this RPC or real property company. Thank you.